We want to say a huge welcome to all of our virtual members of Columbine United Church. You are becoming a huge audience out there, and we are very, very excited about that. And we are welcoming you here on this beautiful Sunday morning. We're all wearing our Bronco orange, so you need to be wearing your Bronco orange. Stop right now, pause the computer, go get some Bronco orange and put it on. Hey, we want you to do more than just watch this sermon. We want you to share this message. We want you to take the URL, copy it, put it on your Facebook page. You know, maybe after hearing today's sermon, you're going to go, man, I know someone who really needs to hear this. So send it to them. Take the good news of Columbine United Church out into the world, because Columbine United Church, we are changing the way people see God. It's good to have you here. Okay, well, today, the scripture passage, you know, one of the things that Mitch and I always talk about is that you really need to be, as preachers, preaching to what people are dealing with. And there are some preachers who forget about everything that's going on in the world, and if the lectionary says you got to preach on this, you preach on that no matter what. Well, I'm not that kind of guy. I believe on, you know, that we got to go with kind of what you all are dealing with. And I had a great sermon plan for today, because last Sunday I talked about the Big Bang Theory. We're going to continue the Big Bang Theory by talking about where is the Big Bang in the midst of the pain of life, in the midst of the ashes. And I had a whole liturgy to go kind of with Communion Sunday. I sent that in to Mitch, and then all of a sudden Mitch sent me back and said, hey, you're forgetting something. What? It's Super Bowl Sunday? You really want to talk about pain in the midst of the ashes? No. So, you know, while there are some people who are today, they're preaching about something else, we are going to talk about the Super Bowl and our faith, and believe me, it's going to be fun. All right. You know, my wife says, you know, you're really kind of full of yourself, aren't you? Amen, brother. Do you know how hard it is to find a passage that deals with the Super Bowl? I found one, Deuteronomy 10:21. He is your praise, and he is your God, who has done these great and awesome things for which your eyes have seen. Don't you think that works? Oh, come on, don't be so lame. That works great. All the great things that we have seen. All right, holy moments and Hail Marys. Do you know today's Groundhog Day? If Peyton Manning comes out, Sean Lynch told me this great joke. Sean, if Peyton Manning comes out and sees his shadow, what happens?
6 more weeks of football.
Yeah, baby. That's great. Woo! You know, it is a fun Sunday. It is a fun Sunday, and I'm glad that you're all wearing your Bronco orange. You know, because, you know, I'm sorry, John, Mr. San Diego Chargers, I told you could wear a Charger uniform or something today. But, you know, it's a fun Sunday. You know, when was the last time that we were in the Super Bowl? 1998. You know, and back in the day, we used to think that Super Bowls happened every other year, right? And I'll never forget that when the last time we were in the Super Bowl, when we won it, I had my kids who were little kids, and I said, watch, soak this up. We're in the Super Bowl. And they looked at me like, Dad, we were in the Super Bowl last year. You know, and here they are, 21 and 23, and I'm going, see, get it? Rare. You got to soak it up, you know. And so I started thinking, you know, how can I make this, you know, something applicable to our lives? And I started thinking about, well, we all have Super Bowls. There's something big in your life that you want to attain, that you want to go for. You know, and the cool thing about this, I want you to think about your own Super Bowl. You know, what is it that you're trying to go for in the midst of your life? And what do you have to do to attain that Super Bowl? You know, for me, when I sat down and started thinking about this, I really think there are 3 things, at least for me in my life, when I think about my own Super Bowl, there are 3 things that you have to do. You have to be willing to give things the heave-ho. You have to be willing to throw a Hail Mary. And you have to be willing to celebrate the holy moments. So the heave-ho. If you're going to attain the Super Bowl, your Super Bowl, whatever it is that you're going to name, you have to give something in your life the heave-ho. You have to pitch something out. You're going to have to get rid of something. Because not everything that you have in your life is going to help you get there. I mean, think about this. Just think about all the quarterbacks that we had to get rid of. You know, Brian Greasy, you know, Kyle Lorton, Jake the Snake, Jay Cutler, and then, you know, which we thought at the time, wow, this is, I remember when Tim Tebow was like, we thought, yes, yes, you know, and then when, you know, Kyle Lorton couldn't score anything beyond the 20-yard line, you know, and we were going, give us Tebow. And there were some guys who actually bought a sign on Santa Fe, you know, put in Tebow. $10,000 they spent on that sign. Put in Tebow. So they put in Tebow. And I won't go there. Not everybody's going to take you to the Super Bowl. At some point, you've got to figure out what it is that you're going to give the heave-ho to in your life. You know, when I started thinking about giving the heave-ho, I thought about the story of Jonah. You know, Jonah from the Old Testament, we know about Jonah and the whale. He was in the belly of the whale for 3 days, but many of us don't know how Jonah got into the belly of the whale. You know, it's an interesting story. You know, God tells Jonah, Jonah, go to the Ninevites. I want you to preach to the Ninevites. And Jonah says, no, I don't want to preach to the Ninevites, because if I preach to them, they'll change their ways and they'll convert to following you. And God says, yeah, that's kind of the plan. And Jonah says, no, I don't want them to convert. I don't like them. So Jonah, poof, takes off and runs the other way. He's running and hiding from God, and he actually goes and gets on a boat. And the boat sets off across the Mediterranean. And because Jonah is hiding from God, God raises up this huge storm. And Jonah's down in the very bottom. He is stowed away on the bottom of the boat. And the sailors are freaking out on top because, you know, the boat's getting ready to sink. And so they're throwing things off the boat. They're giving everything the heave-ho, the heave-ho. And the captain tells them, start praying to your gods. So they start praying to the gods. They go down into the hold of the ship and they find Jonah. They bring Jonah up and they say, you stranger, pray to your God. And so he prays and he says, my God is the God of Yahweh. To end this storm, you need to throw me overboard. And so the guys, they just keep on rowing. And the ship is just getting ready to just go down in the storm. And the sailors are crying, help, help. And Jonah says, throw me overboard and everything will be fine. They grab Jonah, they give him the heave-ho, they toss him off. He gets swallowed up by the big fish, but suddenly the storm ceases. Calm waters. And the sailors make it to their destination. Now, when I was thinking about that in the heave-ho, I was thinking about how often we hold on to those things that are holding us back. We have this great thing that we want to do, a Super Bowl, something that we want to attain. And we know that we got to get rid of some things. We got to get rid of some things. And so because we have to simplify our lives. And so we start throwing off all different kinds of things, except for the one thing that's getting in the way. And when we find out what it is, oftentimes we work and work to keep that one thing in our life. Just like those sailors, Jonah said, throw me overboard. And they keep on rowing, hanging on to Jonah. Well, what's your Jonah? Bad habit? Limitations? I love the quote, argue for your limitations long enough, and baby, they are yours. Your fears? Maybe your Jonah is a someone. And you need to jettison someone out of your life. It could be that you have a toxic work person, someone you work with. You have a toxic neighbor. You have a toxic spouse. One of the most controversial things I say that always gets me a lot of ugly emails, stop it out there. Is when I tell people, I believe in marriage. Heck, I've been married for 33 years. I believe in marriage. Not all marriages are supposed to be together. Sometimes two people come together and they're toxic. And I always tell couples, I say, I want you to work at your marriage. However, a marriage is not a prison sentence. It's not a life term. And for everybody gets the chance at a life. You get the chance at a life. If your marriage, if your bad relationship, if your partnership, whatever it is getting in your way of attaining the great things that God has for you and for your life, it's time to give it the heave-ho. Maybe it's your job. Maybe for some reason you're holding on to your job because it's good pension. It's great insurance. And you've got this mortgage, you've got the carpet, whatever, and you're holding on to it, and it's just grinding you into the ground. Really? Really? You're going to hang on to something that's suffocating you? When you have one life. And you say, well, I'm just hanging on until I retire. Do you know how many people I know who I bury them 2 years before they retire because they've been hanging on to something that's been suffocating them? To attain that Super Bowl, whatever it is that you decide, you have to be willing to give it the heave-ho. You have to be willing to throw the Hail Mary. You know my favorite Hail Mary? How many of you remember 1992, the miracle in Michigan? Cordell Stewart. How many of you remember that? Put your hand up. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Cordell Stewart is back on his, I forget, because it's a 67-yard bomb, 62 or 67. I remember watching this game. They were down by 6 or 7 points. Michael, it's like Cordell Stewart. Michael, just go long. And so he hucks that football a country mile. A bunch of them go up, and Michael Westbrook comes down with it. You know, when was the last time? That's the year that the Buffaloes won the national championship. Talk about a holy moment. When was the last time? When is it going to be the next time the Buffaloes are going to win a national championship? We might not see it in my lifetime. Have faith, right? Come on, please. Yeah. Right, what? John, I'm preaching. Let me move on. All right. So, to attain the great thing in life, you're going to have to be willing to take a risk. I mean, think about this. 35 years old, how many neck surgeries? The dude couldn't even hold a football. Who's the first baseman that just retired from the Rockies? Helton, thank you. You're all sounding like mush to my brain. Todd Helton. Todd Helton stood across from Peyton Manning 10 feet. And Peyton Manning would throw the ball and it would end up in the ground. Over and over until he worked on his grip to the point where he could throw today. Peyton Manning had to take a risk on himself to think that he was worthy enough, that he still had the gift, skills, and abilities to go do what he's doing today. How many teams thought Peyton Manning, don't tell it to the Colts. Can you imagine everybody in Baltimore today? Oh, heck, I got the city wrong. Did they used to be the Baltimore Colts? Man. John, maybe you should come up here and preach. I'll sit down. How many people passed? And John Elway said, "No, let's take a risk." Where do you need to take a risk? Yeah, the Hail Mary is a low percentage throw. Although, showing my age, 1976, Pittsburgh Steelers, Len Swan was going long, and Terry Bradshaw threw a Hail Mary and won the Super Bowl. Where do you need to take a risk? Because see, here's the fun thing. When you stay in your comfort zone, nothing really exciting happens. When you step out of your comfort zone, the magic happens. You know why? It's because suddenly your senses are on full alert. Suddenly your angels, who are really bored when you're sitting in your comfort zone, they're going, woohoo, now we're going to fly. Suddenly, when the magic happens, when you step outside your comfort zone, because suddenly the cosmos starts working with you. People start showing up in your life, and you're kind of going, and they have just the right piece of information that you need. And you kind of go, how did you know I need it? Well, that's the magic. You stay inside the comfort zone. Everybody's bored. God's bored. The cosmos is bored. The angels are bored. Yes, God gets bored with you. You step outside, man. You know, the story this reminds me of is when Peter walks on water. You know, and we always think about that Peter sank. We forgot that he walked on water. You know, the story is that the disciples are crossing the Sea of Galilee, and there's this huge storm that's blown up, and Jesus has told them to go on ahead with them. So Jesus catches up to them in the middle of the storm, and Peter looks out and sees Jesus, and they're freaked out because they think it's a ghost. And Jesus says, "Don't worry, boys, it's me." And Peter says, "Lord, if it is you, bid me to come to you on the water," which is really stupid on Peter's part. Because as I said last week or the week before, Jesus never says, no, you stay there. No, you stay on your pallet. Jesus always says, "Oh yeah, baby, come on. Get up off of that pallet. Come on, Peter, out of the boat." Talk about a Hail Mary. And to Peter's, I love this. He actually gets up. You know the other disciples are hanging on to him. "Don't be stupid, Peter. Think about your pension." Peter gets out of the boat. He actually walks on water. The only thing that stops him is he looks around and he gets overwhelmed by the storm. If he had stayed focused, he probably would have made it all the way across. You got to get out of the boat. There's my son Taylor. We're in Glacier National Park, and talk about taking a risk. "Taylor, get out on that promenade. It drops off a couple thousand feet. Don't worry about that. Get up there and strike a pose for me." Take a risk. What's your boat that you need to get out of? What's your Hail Mary that you need to throw? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Got to celebrate the holy moments. The holy moments. Those things happen when like you get to the Super Bowl, you kind of go, wow. Just think this past year or two when you had a holy moment where you just went like, wow. You know, for me, the holy moment for Jesus was right before he preached the Sermon on the Mount. That breath he took right before he preached the Sermon on the Mount. We always think the Sermon on the Mount, you know, the beautiful sermon. I preach a bunch of sermons. What's cool was when he came up over the mountain, and there were 5,000 people in front of him, and he went, "Wow, this thing is real." And that something came over him, and he went, "Blessed are the peacemakers." See, it was that moment before he spoke that for Jesus was huge. What's your holy moment? What's your holy moment? You know what? You're going to get sick and tired of me talking about this, but sorry, you get sick and tired of me. You know, for me, the holy moment, my holiest moment of this past year is when my manuscript for my book, Sent to Soar, kind of came in the mail. Actually, it was UPS. You know, I know it was coming, you know, and so when Brown came out, and I said, hey, gentle with that. You know, I signed it, took it in, and I held the manila envelope. Smelled the dirt on it. Took a knife. Opened it up. took a picture of it, unfolded it, and just put my hands on it. You know, I started singing this, sorry, baby boomers, the baby boomer song, Seals and Crofts. We may never come this way again. I thought to myself, you know, I might not ever, ever, ever get to do this ever again. I am going to like sleep on this. It was a moment. Do you ever do that? That pause. You know, for me, you know, I think maybe when Jesus was born, that was a holy moment for God. There are a lot of holy moments before that. But when Jesus was like, wow. I think the moment of your birth was God's holy moment. Where God goes, wow. You know, I think when you are willing to take the risk and throw stuff out of your life, when you get out of your boat, when you get out of your comfort zone, I think that's a holy moment for God. You know why? Because God goes, wow, they do trust me. You know, for me, that's the profound thing about a holy moment, is that when you are able to do that, step out, step forward, you realize that you and God are one. There is no separation between you and God. Not now, not ever, there never has been. You and God are one. And the powerful thing about the holy moments, it's a reminder that you and God are one. We have a football game this afternoon. Is a football game a holy moment? No. It's a football game. A holy moment is people coming together, laughing, screaming, weeping. That's what's holy.
Dear God, our eternal companion, this is important. For there is not one here today, but that needs to let something go. To let it go. And face all of the thoughts and feelings that go with letting it go, because it needs to be gone. And in the moments of letting go, oh God, you are there. Thank you. And dear God, life goes on after we let go. And we know that you would not want us just to pick up any old thing on the other side of letting go. But you'd want us to Hail Mary something, to really throw our hearts and our minds and our life into something grand and new and vibrant and creative and challenging. And that you're going to be with us. And we thank you. Calm whatever feelings come out of the mind and the heart when we heave-ho it and really go for it. We let go. We take up. And then we look around. And we find and are found by that which is holy. Holy moments. What Two nice words, holy moments. Teach us ever to be aware of looking for them, of seeking them, and when we find them, claim them. Truly let them in. And you're going to be with us. That's just who you are. And we thank you. And dear God, if you're going to be with us, we can be there for each other. Just think about that in silence for a few seconds. If we're going to let go, if we're going to risk, and we're going to find what is truly holy in life, we're really going to need a prayer life and a prayer very appropriate to that. And we thank that one known as Jesus for teaching us how to pray. Will you join me? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.